U.S. Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth has delivered a stark warning about China's ambitions in Asia, saying America will defend its interests in the region. Speaking at Asia's most important security forum, Hegseth said China wanted to dominate Asia. He called on countries to follow Washington's lead and bolster defense spending to counter the threat posed by China. The U.S. defense chief accused Beijing of preparing to use military force to alter the balance of power in the Indo-Pacific. He said the U.S. doesn't want a war, but would be prepared to fight one.
We do not seek conflict with Communist China. We will not instigate nor seek to subjugate or humiliate. President Trump and the American people have an immense respect for the Chinese people and their civilization. But we will not be pushed out of this critical region. Again, to be clear, any attempt by Communist China to conquer Taiwan by force would result in devastating consequences for the Indo-Pacific and the world.
Journalist Adam Hancock is in Singapore, where he's been following the Shangri-La conference. Now, in Pete Hegseth's speech, which we heard just a little bit of, clearly he was also trying to convince Asian nations, not just Taiwan, that the United States is a better, more trustworthy partner for the region than China. Do you think he made a convincing argument?
Well, I think he certainly did a good job of reaffirming Washington's commitment to countries in this region, which was one of the big fears that countries in this part of the world had. Straight away at the beginning of his speech, he went right in at the top and said, America is proud to be back in the Indo-Pacific, and America is here to stay. And he reiterated Washington's commitment, saying that the security of people in this region is directly linked to the security of people back home. But in terms of how convincing that argument was, how trustworthy countries in this region are of Washington, well, he did mention the fact that Asian allies need to do more in terms of building up their defences and in terms of defence spending as well. And that certainly will raise some eyebrows amongst countries who, a lot of them have been hit by tariffs from Washington, of course, who they've long considered an ally. They are concerned about how interested the Trump administration is in this region. Plus these comments now today saying that they need to do more to boost spending. Pete Hegseth pointed to Germany as a good example, saying they have increased their GDP budget on spending, and countries in this region should do the same. But he spoke a lot about China and the threat, saying it was very real and potentially imminent. He was really trying to play up the threat of China, I think, to try and convince allies in this region about the seriousness of the threat from China and the fact that they need to do more in terms of their own defense and their own defense spending.
Now, Hegseth's speech came right after a speech by French President Emmanuel Macron. He said that Asian and European nations should not be forced to pick sides in this rivalry between the U.S. and China. Tell us more about that.
Yeah, he struck a very different tone in the keynote speech last night. Interestingly, President Macron, the first ever European leader to make a keynote speech here at the Shangri-La Dialogue, he encouraged Asian nations to build new alliances with Europe, ensuring that they don't have to pick sides between the US and China and become what he described as collateral damage in that competition. And it's a theme that President Macron has been pushing forward all week. He's been on a three-nation Southeast Asia tour. He's been trying to present France and indeed Europe as a stable partner amidst all of this turmoil between the US and China, and somebody that they can build new alliances with. He touched on the war in Ukraine, for example, spelling out that if Russia was allowed to take Ukrainian territory unopposed, that the consequences could also be felt here in Asia. So he really was trying to link conflicts that are happening elsewhere to the situation here in Asia, trying to encourage Asian allies to form new alliances with Europe, perhaps taking an opportunity of the fact that countries here are concerned about the US and China conflict, and they're not sure which way to go at this stage.
Now, Adam, notably, China did not send its top military diplomat to this summit for the first time since 2019. What are you hearing about why he wasn't present? Briefly, if you can.
Yeah, we've had no official comment from Beijing as to a reason. They were quite tight-lipped when they announced this. But a few analysts that I've been spoken to, lots of speculation, of course, but perhaps the political tensions between the US and China, Beijing perhaps felt this wasn't the right moment to send a defense secretary. They can often face awkward questions here about the South China Sea or Taiwan. And maybe Beijing just felt that this was right to skip this year.
Adam Hancock reporting there from Singapore. Thanks, Adam.
Thank you.